and ensure a stable academic calendar. Okay. At this point, I don't think the conversation is about who you believe, the federal government or ASUU. It doesn't really matter anymore, right? This is like a family problem. If you know anything about family problems, they last. Sometimes they transcend generations. The fathers are done and gone, and they pass it on to their kids. And at some point, nobody really knows who's at fault. They just know what side family members have taken. That's where we are with ASUU. But I have to say the response of government is faulty. In one breath, you're asking ASUU, appealing to shelve their strike. In another breath, you're saying that the no work, no pay policy remains in effect if they go ahead with the strike. So what exactly should ASUU do? Should they listen to the voice of reason, listen to your appeal, or be defiant and say, you know what, bring it on? But I think, and I'm sure that experts might corroborate this or maybe have even better suggestions. I think that at the next federal executive meeting, the president needs to ask, who are we owing as a country? Because it seems every MDA, every ministry, department, agency has a union that the federal government has not settled. And well, it might not entirely be the fault of the Tinubu administration, because some of these things stem from decades ago. I remember in Buhari's administration, I started learning about some ministries, parastatals, departments that I did not know existed in Nigeria. Why? Because they decided they were going to go on strike. And there's always an agreement. There's always something from 5 years ago the federal government promised. And of course, the federal government did not fulfill its promise. So at the next FEC meeting, the president and his cabinet, he needs to ask very serious questions. How many promises are unfulfilled? How many people are we owing? So, well, Your Excellency, we cannot at this time. Try. Let's know what we're doing. Right? Who did we promise? And by we, I mean federal government. Not really my government, but federal government. Who did we make promises to? How many groups are waiting for us to pay? So that even if you cannot pay, you at least know what you owe. Because now, as a Nigerian, I'm numb to headlines about strike. If I say these people are going on strike, I'm duty bound to report it. But as a Nigerian, it doesn't strike anymore. I just exclaim, oh, here we go again. And what happens? They bring you to the round table, the everlasting round table for dialogue, make a few promises again, and then we wait for the next strike. Well, the commercial has to strike now. After that, we talk. Stay with us.
Nigeria Info will be right back.
X 92.3 Nigeria Info. So before the break, we talked about ASUU with yet another threat of a strike. And they're not doing it because they enjoy the attention of government and the entire country. No, it's because they actually are entitled to some things. Promises the government have made that they have not fulfilled yet. And while it's easy to get tired of ASUU, I have to admit, once in a while, I'm like, oh, come on. You have to commend their resilience. If ASUU is a business, they will be in business for a long time. They know how to be persistent. So, Your Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, at the next FEC meeting, Ask all the ministers. Who are we owing? What promises have been made by this government? Check your records. How many of those promises are unfulfilled? If the players in your MDA, if there's any ministry, department that is agreed for some reason, please indicate with all details. Yes, it might be a whole lot more than the government can handle, but at least knowing the problem is the first step to solving it. Then we start talking about how to settle all of these problems. ASUU, we're owing you 10 trillion, but we cannot pay 10 trillion. This is what we can do. Because at this time, strikes have become a regular part of our education system. Anybody around you tells you they want to go to school, spend 4 years and come out, Nigerians around them will laugh. And they would jokingly say, you've not factored in ASUU strike. It's now a part of the curriculum. One of the reasons why I went to Unizik is that at some point, thanks to the former VC, they pulled out of ASUU. Those who know. And Unizik did not go on strike for a while. And around that time, there were lots of people who opted to go to that school. I think another VC came and put them back in ASUU, but thankfully, I was out. So it tells you the kind of problem we have in this country. Now, the vice president should reiterate it at the NEC meeting. Please, we're still in the business of reconciliation. If federal government is owing any union, please let us know. So that in a couple of years, maybe, just maybe, nobody else goes on strike. Well, we go from that to tragedy. The family of a 35-year-old Onyinyechi Peter is still reeling from shock after losing her 16-year-old Miracle and her 17-year-old brother, Ima. In Eligbolo, Obio, our correspondent, Emeka Otuka, reports that the boys drowned while trying to help someone trapped in the flood. On their way back, Ima's slippers slipped off, and as they tried to retrieve it, the strong current swept them away.
As I came back, I said, where is them? One our neighbor now answer that someone called them to come and help them. As they are on the way going, including the neighbor follow to go and help the person. The person is crossing to enter the house. So they already helped finish. On their way coming, they say the slippers of my son remove. As he remove and he fell down, they trying to pick the slippers. They say leave the slippers, leave the slippers. He tried to collect it. Now that my brother bringing my son back, but there's no way. The water now took 2 of them.
One of the bodies were recovered on Sunday morning around the Eliozu Bridge. Mrs. Peter, whose home was submerged, is currently staying with a neighbor. She says neighbors saw the boy struggling but could not save them.
Why the other boy that we them, he come back home, come and tell the mother, look what happened. And the mother saw what happened. The mother said that he saw them when they was inside the water. He think they are playing. They didn't do anything, they didn't care. Before the water carried my son, they said that I was shouting, help, help, help me. One man said that he heard a sound inside the room, but he couldn't come out to come and help. Since that is dating now, they haven't found any coffee. I have not seen them. I have not seen them.
No matter how you hate them. Residents blame the tragedy on an overflowing canal along GU Ake Road, which they say has caused constant flooding in the area. Meanwhile, a guest house manager, Augustina Ibaya, also confirmed that all rooms in her facility were flooded. I'm going to try to play those in a bit. But the big question is, who do you blame at this point? Everyone. Nigeria has happened to that family. When somebody says Nigeria happened to you, that is something Nigerians understand. It means that your tragedy is tied to an avoidable situation, especially one that does not happen in other climes. The kind of darkness that follows you simply because you are a Nigerian, simply because you are trapped in this country, and these kinds of problems usually happen to citizens of this country. Particularly because it's avoidable. Now, 2 people drowned. If you hear the word drown, you very likely would think about a water body. a river, a sea. But this is not a natural water body. It's flood. An avoidable tragedy. If only the government at whatever level, whether local, state, or federal, did what they were supposed to do, this woman will have no reason to grant Nigeria Info an interview. And it's sad because our flood response is always reactive. We are almost never proactive. When you think and hear the policies around flood, you start hearing IDPs after the fact. The flood has happened. So what do we do to those whose communities have been ravaged by the flood? Why should anybody lose a child like this? Why? Oh, it rained more than it should have. So we'll start by blaming God and nature. And then we don't really have systems in place to ensure that we can coexist with nature. So thanks to that very unique situation, and of course the added spice of being Nigerian, I've lost my sons. It's not a story you can share. You don't know how to repeat it. You can't describe it. But most importantly, it reinforces the idea that people who live in this country are survivors and not citizens. That's literally what it is. We're surviving our country. Anyways, I don't want to spend all this time ranting. Right? It doesn't really help create solutions to the problem. It just emphasizes the problem even more. So we say what we always say when things like this happen. May their souls rest in peace. Because that is what follows this kind of tragedy. The second is, River State government, please reach out to that family. It's very important. Most importantly, it's not going to bring the woman back. It will not do anything, but it just shows that the government is in touch. But most importantly, we have to come to a place where our response to problems like this is proactive, not reactive. Again, may their souls rest in peace. And finally, the last headline before I open the phone lines. Another kind of tragedy, one that we have forced ourselves to become accustomed to. But this one plagues the world of sports. There was violence in Kano. Was it in Kano? Oh, yes. Sani Abacha Stadium, Kano, on Sunday evening. Kano Pillars fans invaded the pitch and attacked match officials, players, and staff of Shooting Star Sports Club following a dramatic late equalizer in the Nigeria Premier Football League match. The fixture ended 1-1, and the fans descended into violent scenes moments after the final whistle. Well, footage from the live broadcast showed irate fans storming the pitch, confronting the officiating team led by referee Mohammed Tuta with assistants Bem Jaffet, Shehu Issa, and Alpha Sadiq. The officials were forced to flee for safety as chaos spread across the pitch. The violence began after Shooting Stars forward Adams Mustafa struck a 94th minute equalizer to cancel out Mustafa Jibril's earlier opener. I saw some hot takes on social media, and somebody was saying, yes, the officiating was not exactly fair. But of course, that does not in any way make it okay for fans to behave in this manner. Well, I have a professional football player, one who has also been a victim of this kind of violence. We call him the midfield maestro. And the violence is not because of poor officiating, but because he was too skillful. Eva.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Sam.
Good afternoon. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much.
So, this is not the first time I've heard of this kind of eruption by fans.
Yeah.
I'm obviously going to ask, why does it always happen? Is it a fault of the authorities, the management, the architecture of the stadium? Why do we always have fans successfully pull off this kind of violence?
Well, it's a blend of nearly everything. Firstly, sometimes you have club administrators who have these guys, these street urchins, these hoodlums that are paddy of the team, more like the ultra fans. When you watch Italian Serie A, there's a section of the crowd that are always looking deadly, looking very brute in terms of how they support their club sides. We have such section of fans, not your usual come to the stadium every day to see a game, but the guys who have the club